Hello everyone. What follows is a story shared by a female listener. My husband and I are the same age, 63 this year, and we have two grown children. For the past 14 years, my husband hasn't shown me any love, and he's out all day, from morning till night. He also constantly finds fault and nags me. I figured I should just let him be and focus on my own business. I also knew he had someone else on the side, but I just ignored it. I didn't try to control him. It wasn't until recently that I was completely floored to discover he has 3 secret children with his mistress. The oldest, is already 30, but that mistress of his had to go to a rehabilitation center. So the little ones were sent to her maternal hometown to live with her own eldest child and are being raised by her parents. I thought he was just messing around, being foolish, so I didn't say anything. But this situation with the secret children has left me completely devastated. Now, he hasn't come back to repent. He's still constantly away. I don't know what to do with my husband anymore. I'm not going to get a divorce, but living like this is just incredibly sad. It's true, just as you concluded in your letter. A life like that is incredibly sad. Everyone hopes that when a couple gets married in their youth, they'll build a life together, have children, and worry about raising them, and then when they reach old age, they can be together in peace. But now, at the end of your life, a storm has hit, and it isn't a small wave. It's a massive one. I'm not blaming you, but there is a share of responsibility here, which is that you're living with a husband. You know he's having an affair, and yet you let it get to the point where he has 3 children on the side, and you told yourself to just let him be, that it's okay, and he'll come back when he gets bored. So, that means, I hesitate to say, you are lax because you can't really control another person. Manageable. But you could say, she was also pretty indifferent. Many people supervise way too closely. But in this case, she was too lax. So much so that he had 3 children on the side. Maybe that other woman is a person with a strong personality. She doesn't have a husband, but she had already had a child with another man before. With this man, she had 3 more children. So, that's 4 children. And still, no husband. So, that's a woman with a very free-spirited lifestyle. And perhaps that's exactly what drew your husband in. As for you, well, I wouldn't say you're dull, but maybe you were just plodding along. You also trusted him too much while he went over to that other woman, and let's just say, she expertly managed him. It wasn't just caring for him, she had him completely handled. And it became this irresistible attraction. One child after another. Won't even get into the issue of what she does with 3 children to make a living. How much he contributes to raising the children. But clearly, the relationship between him and that other woman is not a casual fling. It's not a relationship just to satisfy his physical needs, as we often say. Instead, after 1 child, they kept seeing each other, then had another, and then another. We're talking more than 10 years, over a decade. Even if they aren't husband and wife, it's a solid relationship. Now, trying to tell him to leave her or break it up will be difficult. It might be that if you weigh yourself against that other woman, her side might be heavier. They are born by 3 children, especially since their mother is in a re-education camp in prison. He'd say, I have to be responsible for my children. Well, over here, I'm all by myself. So, the wise thing to do, if you've already said you don't want to break things up, don't want a divorce, is to live for yourself. Declare to him, I am truly disappointed. I never thought that the sacrifices I made for you would be repaid like this, but what's done is done. Now, I'm not going to blame you anymore. If Ita were to yell at you, or hit you, or divorce you, it would all be the same. Go live your life and take care of your child. Whether you have a pension or you don't have a pension, whatever it is you do, it's your job to take care of yourself and the children. And as for me, I'm letting go. I will not waste my time and energy taking care of someone who is with me, but whose heart is somewhere else entirely. And learn to live by yourself. Take care of your health. If you have finances, your money, protect that money. When you talk to your children, just say in a measured way that mom is letting go. That mom doesn't hate him. Mom isn't resentful. Because that's just how he is now. Pushing him out onto the street at this point won't change the situation at all. Mom is hurt, but mom will accept it. Mom will take care of herself. Saying it like that will not only earn you your children's respect, but at the same time, you'll also receive their love and affection to make up for it. They will see that their mother is so noble, so kind, so compassionate. And that's the right way to be. At this age, for the grandparents to drag each other to court and have it all fall apart doesn't really solve anything. So, just do whatever makes you happy. Then your children and grandchildren will make an effort to come and visit their grandma. And if they have something, they'll give it to you as a gift. If their family goes on a trip, they'll invite you along, and you should just go. So now, at this point, it's time to learn how to let go. Don't hold on any longer, because that's the only good way forward. In your case, and now for the second story. So, back when I was little, my family, well, my mom, she had gambling debts. My mom, she got involved in those kinds of things. And then, after a while, my mom went bankrupt. So, she came home, grabbed all the money and everything, and just left. She left with another man. At that time, it was just the two of us, my dad and me, living together. Then, about a year ago, I suddenly received a message from my biological mother. My mom texted me. I don't know how my mom found my contact, information or anything to be able to message me. She said, "Now I see you're working and all. While I'm in this situation, you are my child. I had the responsibility of giving birth to you, so now that you're grown up and making money, you also have to know to help your mother. At the very least, each month you work, you have to give me $2,500. All right? Today, this lovely young lady is sharing her family problem concerning the relationship between her and her mother. Model, I'm 24 years old this year, and right now I'm working as a teacher. As you know, a teacher's salary isn't very high, right? So my job is really just enough to maintain my life, and everything else, it's not nearly enough to be able to provide for other things. So back then, when I was little, my family, my mom, she had gambling debts. My mom, she got involved in that stuff. And then, after a while, my mom went bankrupt. So she came home, grabbed all the money and things, and just left. She left with another person. At that time, it was just the two of us, my dad and I, living together. I'm the only child in my family, and at that time, it was just my dad and me living together. It felt like my family completely fell apart. When my mom left, my dad was also pretty devastated. Then, when I was 10 years old, at that time, I also had to go to school and take care of other things. So my dad had to work a lot of jobs. For example, my dad worked as a driver, and he did absolutely everything. So at that time, I really felt for my dad. I couldn't understand why my mom could do something like that. Then, it wasn't until much, much later, when I went to college, that my dad started a new relationship. My dad started seeing someone new. At that time, the two of them felt they were compatible. So, they moved in together. And I've been married for a year. And she's a single mother too. You see? So they started living together. And her child also came to live with my family. I found that my new sibling was also quite well behaved and very understanding. So, everything, my family was very peaceful and warm during that time, including my relationship with her. My dad's new wife really loves me. She took care of everything and looked after us from the moment she met my dad up until now that I'm grown up and have a job. But honestly, because she's, a new person who came into my dad's life, it's still quite hard for me to accept the idea of calling her mom, and she's completely fine with me just calling her auntie whenever the time is right. She said, I can call her mom then. But for now, I'm still maintaining just a normal relationship. Then, it was about a year ago, when, out of the blue, I got a message from my birth mother. When my mom texted me, I was a bit surprised because she'd been gone for so many years and never seemed to care about the family. Back then, I honestly thought I would never see my mother again. Because, you see, at the time, when my mom left, I was still so little. And now, my mom was texting me. I have no idea how she found my contact information, all that stuff, for her to be able to text me. At first, she acted very concerned, asking how I was doing. She also said she was feeling very miserable. She started telling me all about her struggles, about the time she was living with her new partner, about her and her new family. She said her family life wasn't happy. Her husband was an alcoholic and would beat her all the time, and the family just didn't get along. So now, she was going through such a hard time, so she wanted to see how her children were doing these days. That's why she was checking up on me. When I heard that, I felt pretty neutral about it, because I just thought, well, she is my mother, after all. At first, I didn't intend to reconnect, to talk to my mom normally, like before, because I was also very angry. But then my father told me, when he found out that my mother was texting me, because I had told him. My dad said, look, she's still the woman who gave birth to you, so just do what's proper. No matter what, you still have a responsibility as her child. My dad is wonderful. And I thought to myself, yeah, he's right. So I've continued to maintain that relationship, and I still talk to her. I still text her. So, seeing my mom like that, I came to believe in that story too. I really do love her a lot. But then, it seems like after a while, my mom would text me again, saying, honey, if you have any money, just, give it to me, so I can take care of this and that. Basically, just finding excuses to ask for money, to pay for her, let's call them, trivial little expenses. And so, I noticed. At first, I thought it was completely normal. But then, I noticed that after a while, my mom would keep texting me, like, honey, if you have a little money or something, just give it to me. It was normal. I thought, well, mom's struggling right now, and I'm the one who's working and earning money, so I can help her out with a little bit. It's no more big deal. But then I saw that this situation dragged on for quite a while. I mean, the frequency of my mom texting me, calling me, and bringing up the topic of asking for money. For me to solve those problems, it became a lot. And that's when I started to think there was a problem. Like, why is she asking me for money so much? There must be some kind of issue. So, thinking about it, I also began to gradually reduce my contacts and texting with my mom. I mean, started to ignore her. It's like when she texts too much, sometimes you just feel the pressure. I go to work, and I'm also earning money to take care of my own family now, and also to provide for my younger siblings at home. One of them is still in school, and the other one is also in school, so I can help them. So, there it is. I thought, well, if I have to worry this much about both sides like this, I just can't handle it. So, that's why I started texting my mom less and less. Meaning, I started to ignore the issue of my mom asking for money. If she asked me for it, I won't give it. because I thought that if I did that, then my mom would get the dot model. It felt awkward. I didn't want to ask for much, so I hoped it would lessen that pressure. Then, at one point, my family and my new stepmom, we went on a trip together to Hawaii. So I posted about it on social media. As for my mom, from the day she sent me a friend request, she started adding me on every single social media platform, like Facebook, everything. She started trying to find out what my life was like and everything. Then my mom would say things like, "So, it looks like you're doing well at work these days." Huh, I mean, she kept probing at my financial situation and things like that. So I just said, "Yeah, I've been working as a teacher lately, and all in all, I have enough to take care of my own life." Then, my mom saw that on the day I went on that trip with my family, I posted a picture. I took it with my stepmom and my younger sibling. It looked like we were a very happy family and all. And so, my mom started crying and complaining, telling me how miserable her life was. "I'm living in such misery, and you have no pity for your own mother. You don't help me with anything, and yet there you are, living with that family. You go on trip and all that. You have money. You have money to go on trips, and you don't give any to me." That's right. And at that moment, I felt really torn. Because honestly, if I keep helping my mom so much, I'm just afraid that she just become dependent on it. And I think I'm scared. I'm scared I'll become the person my mom thinks she can just, whenever she needs something, she can just come to me for money. Like I'm just a place for her to get cash from. That's the direction I'm seeing this go. Right. And I asked, "So what am I supposed to do now?" And then, in the end, my mom said to come meet her. So she set up a meeting, and after that conversation, at first, my mom was still asking about me like usual, so I thought our mother-daughter relationship would get better. It still felt very good, but then, at the end of the meeting, when it was time to leave, my mom asked me for money, because now her husband, well, he doesn't give her any money because he's a hopeless drunk. He doesn't do anything, and he doesn't give her a single penny. So I knew there was a problem again. And just like that, she asked me for money, and I just agreed. But after a while, my mom finally just sent me a direct text message. She said, "Look, I see you're working and all that while I'm in this situation. You're my child. You have a responsibility. I gave birth to you, and now you're all grown up. You're working. You have money. So you have to help your mother. So, at the very least, every month you have to give me $2,500. That's the part one. I just couldn't understand. I was completely stunned at that moment. You know, I told her, "Look, at most, my salary as a teacher isn't what you'd call very high. Let's say I make around $5,000. I have my own expenses to take care of. If I have to support you on top of that, I don't know what else I'll be able to manage." So, at that point, I just told her that I would have to think about it and reconsider things. That if she were to continue on like this, then I would have to reconsider the relationship between us and whether I should continue to maintain it and even talk to her anymore. Because I also felt that this whole thing was just really hard to share with anyone. That's why I didn't tell my dad. I was scared of what would happen if he found out. I also found the matter pretty difficult to share. So I didn't tell my dad. I'm afraid that when my dad finds out, he'll try to stop me. Or that he'll be harsh with my mom. Because he told me, "Look, from the day your mother left, I have had nothing to do with her. In short, she took off. There's nothing left. From now on, our lives have nothing to do with each other." But I still feel so much compassion for her. Because when I was little, I also lacked a mother's love. So I just hope that my mom can live a decent life. And, still have a proper, peaceful life. But lately, my mom has been acting like this. And should I continue to maintain and hold on to this relationship? Right? This young lady's story, if anyone had a talent for writing, they could turn it into a short novel. A real. Dude, 20 years have gone by, and it all comes back around, returning to these journeys that are, honestly, like something out of a movie. First of all, I have to say, you were born, and then your mother left when you were just a little girl. You lived with your dad, and it wasn't until much later that he got a girlfriend. So, you've missed a mother's care. But in your heart, you still have such a kind nature. You're not harsh, not angry at all. You're not resentful. You're not taking your anger out on the mother who abandoned you. Other daughters might have said something like, "Did you ever think about when you left me when I was 3 or 4 years old? You left my father and took all the money. You went off doing who they wouldn't be like you." I have to say that kindness is truly inherent in you, even though you didn't really have anyone teaching you that. Secondly, your dad is also wonderful. Another man would have been filled with hatred. He would have just wanted to cast her aside, like dirt. But here, when you told him you were texting her, your dad still said, "Just do what your conscience tells you to do." It's not like he forbade you. He didn't say, "Don't you dare contact that hag," or "that woman, that promiscuous type." I have to say the two of you, father and daughter, are truly cut from the same cloth. You're very good people. That's something to be very happy about. Very glad life always has these things. That moves us one more thing. I want to say this model. Look, in your parents' case, both your father and your mother went bankrupt, took the money, and just left. On paper, they are still legally husband and wife. It's just that they've run off somewhere, they just aren't living together. But back when they registered their marriage, those records at whatever ward office are still there, completely intact. So, legally speaking, they are still husband and wife. There are people who leave for 15 years, but then, all of a sudden, the spouse who stayed behind, not understanding the law, goes and marries another woman, and the first wife comes back and sues. She'd make all sorts of claims about her rights. But yes, that is the legal reality. That's why, if we're talking about the law, your parents have to get a divorce. Only then can your mother legally marry that other man. And only then can your father be with the woman he's with now. But perhaps, given their circumstances, neither of them really had anything. After being gone for 15-20 years, both sides were still struggling, and they both started over. Right now, I'm sure your father and his partner can't legally marry. Your mother is just living with that other man. As for this new woman, you like her and she doesn't cause any problems. If they love each other, they just live together, and that's that. So that's why I wanted to mention this briefly. From a legal standpoint, you see, now then, if only your mother's situation were like this. She left, and then in all the time since, she's had a very difficult life. She was too ashamed to return to you and your father. She did come back to the area, but, she was working as a maid or a shop assistant, living in some rundown place somewhere. And every day she would follow your progress from afar. And, you know, she had maintained her dignity. She's not with anyone else now. She lives by herself. Right, she ran away, took the money, and left like that. Now, she's ashamed. She sees that you're grown up, working as a teacher. She doesn't dare to come back. But she still loves her husband and her child. So, she's renting that small room right over there for all these years, and no one found out. Every day she works as a sales clerk or something similar. Now that would be a touching story. That would honestly make you feel more sympathy for her. But she left. Of course, circumstances pushed her to it. But if her life had become peaceful after that, and she had come back, you make amends where you made your mistakes. Where you fall is where you get back up. If she had come back, apologized, and then, even if you now had to work as a factory worker, even if you had to work as a maid, and you earned money because you just couldn't abandon your child, then I would be incredibly moved. But she was willing to leave when you were just 5 years old. She was willing to find another man, and she ended up with a guy who was into drinking and gambling. She got beaten up and had no other way out. Only then did she come looking for you again. But during all those most difficult years, did she ever ask, "How is my child doing in first grade?" Or anything like that, right? So, on a biological level, yes, she is your mother. But not every mother deserves to receive what you'd call filial piety. What you're doing here is truly filial piety. You reap what you sow. That's the law of karma in life. This is a life lesson, because if a person just gives birth to a child and that's it, is irresponsible towards them, and then when the child grows up, they later demand to be repaid. That's not how it works. Life has its rules, and that's why you, even if you were a billionaire, you still couldn't satisfy all of your mother's demands. Who knows? And excuse me for saying this, but what if your mother is involved with all sorts of different people? What if your mother is addicted to drugs right now? Your mother is probably still living with her husband, right? Because no husband is going to provide money for his wife's drug addiction. Now, she sees her daughter looking so presentable and as a teacher, and just expects you to send her a steady stream of money to spend on this and that. I would never throw my money into a situation like that. I don't know what purpose it's being used for. If she were in dire straits now, destitute, having to beg for a living, that would be a different story. But here, she still has a life. She's still out there living it up. And she's always crawling onto my Facebook to snoop around. It's not like your mother is some desperately suffering old woman. That's her lifestyle. She chose this path for herself. If possible, do this. Talk to your mother and say, "Look, I know you have your own difficulties, but I have mine too. My father and I are having a much harder time. Right now, let's be blunt. Out of my $5,000 monthly salary, I have to give this much to Dad to pay for his living expenses. I have other responsibilities to, honestly, for the past few months, or that last time, I had to scrimp and save just to give you a little something. That was a gift. But I'm telling you the truth, from now on, I won't have any more. I just don't have it. And if you really still have feelings for me and Dad, then sometime you should come visit me out here. Since she lives far away, come visit me properly. For an occasion, like my 20-something TH birthday, come out here, Mom, and share everything. Tell me what your life is really like. You say you love me and miss me, but all you do is call and text. You don't even bother to find out how I'm actually doing. And frankly, I don't really know what your life is like either. That's why I'm going to stop providing you with money. If you miss me, you can call. If you love me, can ask how I am, or just go on Facebook and look at my pictures to feel better. I'm also very busy, so no more pestering phone calls. And if you're able to, and if you genuinely still care, come out here sometime, and we'll talk more then. You have to be that clear, because you have nothing to be afraid of. It's about moral principle. Like I told you, not every mother is worthy of receiving respect from her children. You have to live your life for your children, be completely devoted to them, and only then will you receive that in return later. Affection must come from both sides. It has to be built on kindness and gratitude. It can't be a mother who just abandons her child and then comes back later saying, "What about the effort I went through to give birth to you?" It doesn't work that way. And secondly, your mother's situation is not that desperate. Now she's saying that she's in some nursing home. But if she was seriously ill, that would be a different story. At that point, no one could say for sure what would happen. In 5, 7, or 10 years, your mother's health might get worse. And by then, if I'm better off, I might reconsider. If I have the means, I'll support her in the future. When you're old and just sitting there, with no money at all, or needing to be hospitalized. But not right now. Let's just be blunt, because if we're not, she'll just keep pestering you. Your mother, in reality, is someone whose life has been too hard. Lately, her thinking has been shallow, because anyone else would be deeply ashamed. Another woman would be like, "My child, oh, my child, please forgive me." Back then, things were like this and that. But throughout all these past years, not a single day went by that I wasn't filled with longing for you. But the reason I didn't come back, I had no money, and I was so ashamed. I was afraid your father wouldn't forgive me. so I didn't dare to come home. People would be very different. They wouldn't just be thinking, where's the money? Where's the money? It's like that all day long. Please forgive me, my child, if you can let it go and forgive me. Then later on, I'll be able to close my eyes in peace. If she just acted regretful, like that, you'd even feel compassion for her. But here, you don't see that. You don't sense even a little bit of any love or affection. And especially since you're not so wealthy that you can just give $2,500 a month to someone when you don't know what she do with it. Who knows? She might use it for drugs or for gambling. Besides, you're an adult now. You're a teacher. You can handle these things on your own. You don't need to discuss it with your father. That way, you can spare him the worry. Your father has been through too much already, and it was only much later that he found the woman you shared about. If she starts hanging around again now, and then there's the ex-wife who comes back to harass him and cause trouble. That poor guy's life is just too hard. And I'm a teacher. You know, a matter like that, I would absolutely handle in private and put an end to it. As for the other thing, just occasionally calling to, check in, ask if they're doing well. That feels natural and comfortable. Have you noticed that? The bond between mother and child has faded to the point where the mother has no desire to see her child. But for someone like me, people who have been away from their mothers would be like, oh, Mom, where are you living now? Mom, give me your address. Then this Sunday, I'll buy a plane ticket. I'll just rush over to be with you. Mom, you'd imagine you'd be longing for it, to throw your arms around your mom, mother and child, hugging and kissing. But why doesn't that feeling come from within me? The mother-child bond wasn't nurtured and built up from a young age. But it's exactly like when anyone accepts some random person on social media as their new father or mother. Right. There's no real emotion there. So, that's that. I won't let it weigh on me too much. The most important thing is me. My life, our story ends here. Goodbye, and see you all again.